This video comes from the Diocese of Lichfield and shows the way in which people and parishes are engaging with issues to do with the environment as a way of making a difference locally. Climate change is the biggest moral issue facing us as a world. Fuel that took 1 billion years to be laid down in the earth, we've burnt in the last 200 years. Energy being released at an equivalent of 400,000 Hiroshimas every day. You can't do violence on that scale without it having a big impact. Think about the ways in which we can act differently, both being more efficient in the use of fossil fuels, but also thinking about how to create sustainable energy and a different sort of economy in which we care for the earth and for each other so that we steward the gifts of God's creation for the good of all.
It's been very exciting for us to host the first environmental engagement programme run by Shrinking the Footprint. It's been very important to bring together people with expertise in lots of different aspects of the environment, with folks from local parishes, local churches who want to make a difference in their own locality. We do hope that many other places within the Church of England will find the same opportunity to combine both something that is of high quality with the commitment to deliver at a local basis. And on that foundation, on that approach, we do hope that many other people will find there'll be lots of examples of good practice that they can share with their neighbours.
I feel it's so important that we do care for the way things are and see that there is a life and an opportunity for the youngsters who are growing today. I came to this particular event to speak about parish initiatives, and I wanted the people to realise that they weren't going to get a handy pack which would tell them what to do and how to do it. I wanted them to think about how they could use ideas to transform the way that they approach things in their churches and their community. And therefore I was saying that because they all come from different churches, they would find useful things for them to work on. But I rooted it in the way that we are as Christians. We believe that the earth is the Lord's, that we are part of His creation. So therefore you've got Psalm 24 verse 1, and we bring in Genesis chapter 2, verse 15, which said that we would till and keep the land, which means that we look after it and we hand it on to other generations. People are beginning to realise that the climate is changing, that we have abused some of the resources of our planet, and that we should try to make amends so that life can go on as we have enjoyed it.
My brief was to talk about mission in the context of current climate change. So I opened up my presentation by referring to the goodness of creation and how that creation is suffering through human engagement, in particular through excessive use of fossil fuels. I then developed that into how our response to that could be part of one of the marks of mission, and I drew on particularly on the fifth one, but there are others, two others at least, which are implicit in thinking about issues of justice. The message that I was trying to put across is that by being engaged actively with some of these issues, by being pilgrims walking alongside those who are struggling and suffering to come to terms with what, for example, climate change means, and also by stimulating the heart and the imagination in terms of artistic response. Those three sort of responses are what I tried to draw out as a key to engaging in mission on an environmental basis.
I was covering two topics, one on food and the other on energy. And of course they're both very strongly related because energy is what gives us the vitality to live, and food likewise. So the energy footprint of food in particular is very significant. It is said that if we really want to address climate change, we start with the food that's on our plate in front of us. And also to see how food can become an issue for us in our churches, because we have a strong emphasis on sharing food in terms of the Eucharist and in terms of working with one another to feed one another. And we also looked at energy issues, which are central to all churches, of course. And the main thrust from my perspective is we need to look at energy conservation, so ways in which we can save energy in our churches. We need to look at more efficient ways of using energy in terms of our appliances and our energy systems, heating and lighting. And then thirdly, in terms of investing in renewable and more sustainable forms of energy into the future. And churches have got a very strong role to play in all of those.
We are concerned as Christians about wildlife and the ecology and biodiversity over the whole world, which are under stress at the moment. And also in the UK, both in town and in countryside, perhaps especially in the cities, because it's less easy for wildlife to flourish here than it might be in other places. We're actually doing a major survey at the moment of all the churchyards in London, and we have ecologists visiting a selected sample and finding out what's there so that congregations who maybe walk past it every Sunday without really knowing very much about what they're seeing can appreciate it better, care for it better as part of God's creation, which we share with the animals and plants that live there. And we hope that this survey might point the way to what could be done in other places, in other cities and outside London, in terms of looking at churchyards and learning about them and caring for them better.
We know that there are many young people who are passionately concerned for the environment, who have a deep spirituality and have yet to learn that we as Christians are committed to both God and His creation. We're looking to include many good examples of environmental sensitivity in our worship, and in particular we're now teaming up to work out how we can be involved in a whole load of campaigning, e-campaigning around environmental issues, joining many others of goodwill who are concerned about both God and God's creation.
So now you've seen the ideas that have been pulled together by people in the Diocese of Lichfield, and I wonder what you can do in your context and with your diocese. I thought that each of those ideas in themselves looked quite small scale, and I wondered if they were going to change the world. But with those living churchyards, if you add them all together, they're the size of a national park. And it's the way we do this together that's going to make a difference. So why don't you think about what you can do, and if you want, ask us for some help, and we'd be pleased to give it. So good luck with what you're doing, and I hope that we will be able to act together in such a way as to care for God's creation and all the gifts that are in it.